guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, Charlie. Finish on. Coach Cole.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Cole here, and welcome to episode 268 of the Today's Leader podcast. Now, 2021 has started, and it looks like, once again, we're facing off against an incredibly challenging year. The early events have given us a really clear indication that the levels of uncertainty and the levels of inconsistency will remain. Working from home for leaders will remain a thing, and our ability as a leader to build teams and deliver productive results will be paramount to our own success and the success of our business or the organization. Now, the workplace has changed and it's unlikely to ever return. So therefore, it's important for leaders at all levels to be agile and to be able to grow. Now, leadership is an evolution. I've always believed that. Leadership is an evolution. We evolve and we should be growing every day. It's a daily discipline. It's a growth mindset. It's our approach to getting the best outcome. Now, there's no doubt that everyone listening to this has leadership skills, and over the next year or so, I believe that it's absolutely imperative to continue to grow and develop those particular skills. But I really want to share with you 5 that I believe we need to focus on as leaders, that you need to focus on to ensure that you remain relevant as a leader. Now, over the month of January, I'm going to dive into each of these skill sets to really help you in your leadership journey. But these are 5 skills that I've got no doubt that you've got, but I really want you to be able to focus in on them, because I think that this is where we're going to be most effective in this remote leadership landscape. Now, the 5 skills that I really want you to focus on are listening. I speak about listening quite often. There's a previous episode where I talked about 2 leadership hacks, listening and coaching, asking questions. So they're the 2 biggest and best leadership hacks that I know. So listening, and that concept that we're listening to understand, not listening for our opportunity to reply. Number 2 is about empathy. So this is a really key, critical component of emotional intelligence. It's about putting yourself in other people's shoes. Number 3 is about intention, having the right intention, having the best intention, and to have the opportunity or the capacity to be able to shift your thoughts and remove from your mindset those negative connotations, the potential agendas those demons of agendas that are playing around in your mind. Number 4 is coaching. So the ability to ask questions, take time and be patient is really critical now for leaders, more so than anything. And the final skill is one of developing respect. Now, this is so many leaders out there, especially in today's world, are wanting to be liked. Now, the reality is not every leader is going to be liked, but every leader can be respected. So I really want you to think about that and once again, just shifting our thoughts around that. It's not about not being liked. It's about aiming for respect, because when you are respected as a leader, that's when you are going to create the biggest amount of influence. And leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's a classic quote from John Maxwell, and it's absolutely true. So those 5 skills, again, listening, empathy or developing empathy, creating your own best intention, coaching, creating your own coaching skills, and then developing respect. So they're the 5 leadership skills that I'm going to dive into during the month of January to really help you develop leadership skills and better outcomes in 2021. So let's first dive into this skill called listening. Now, listening is vastly different from hearing, right? So listening is different from hearing. In the world of today, it seems that everyone is shouting at each other. Everyone is shouting at each other, and there's no better example than some of those incidences that we've already seen in 2021. Now, it's happening around the world, it's happening on a global scale, but it also happens in our workplaces. Workplaces can be toxic, they can be political and poisonous. And one of the reasons for that can be a lack of understanding, a lack of connection, a lack of empathy. And a lot of that is driven by many things, but one of the main things is that lack of listening skills. If you've ever had that opportunity to walk around and listen to your people and they're saying no one's listening to us, there's problems here, there's problems there, no one's listening to us. Often you'll find that after an incident has occurred and they go in and they investigate the incident, and the team or the staff or the frontline people will say, this was a problem, but no one listened to us. So the lack of listening skills really creates disconnection within the workplace. Now, as Stephen Covey says in his highly successful book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, seek first to understand, then be understood. So seek first to understand, then be understood. And this is a bit of a challenge because individually, we are very focused on ourselves. Now, individually, we want to be understood. We want to tell people what we think. We want to share our opinions. We want to tell people what we think is the best way to go. So this does actually require a real shift from you as a leader, because it's sort of almost against human nature. So how many times have you heard people say, they're not listening to me? How many times have you heard yourself say that? No one's listening to me. And that's because one of the key aspects of that is that we are wanting to be understood as opposed to understanding the conversations. Slightly different to that whole concept before where we're not listening to people. We need to listen to people because we need to be proactively listening. But when we're in a conversation, seek first to understand, then be understood. So individually, we want to be understood, so we do need to create a bit of a shift. So shifting our thinking, it's almost unnatural, but our natural response is, of course, to be more concerned with ourselves, so we've got to shift that. Now, one of the other problems that we see within listening is that we've got this concept of surface listening, Now, I don't know whether that's a theory, that's how I describe it. We're listening on the surface, so we're maybe even pretending to listen. We're giving the impression that we're listening, but we've actually not listening. We've got our agenda. And the real agenda is not one to connect with the person, not one to fully understand their position, their process, where they're giving the impression of listening. So this is potentially devious, potentially fraudulent, but the reality is that we are now going out of our way to give the impression of listening, not listening, and that has the potential to create real negative impact. So now, people actually understand. Now, so let me just talk through that a little bit. People will actually understand if something they say can't be achieved, if something they say can't be done. So when someone's when someone's speaking to you about a better way, you can make it really clear that you can understand them, but, and that's one of the worst words that we've got in our leadership language, isn't it? The word but or however. But sometimes we are going to be constrained by what it is that we do, but we can still provide some powerful listening support to our team by actually listening and understanding what their concerns, what their outcomes, what it is that they're looking to achieve. Now, as a leader, we absolutely have that ability for us to be able to say, look, I understand that. It actually sounds like a really good idea. We need to go down this path, however, because that is the path that's been set for us. So the person feels valued, they feel acknowledged, but they also understand that this is going down this path because of whatever the reason may be. So we have given the person value, we've acknowledged what it is that they're saying, but we're also talking them through the process. Well, this is an agenda or a process or a plan that's been devised and set. I'm going to register your concern or your issues or your improvements that you want to make. Let's try it this way. Let's see how we go. I'm going to keep these listening posts open so we can understand how it's going. Another thing that leaders make the mistake of is listening with the intent on replying, and many of us are just waiting for our turn to say what we think. And that's not good. So we need to be active in the listening process. We need to be asking questions. We need to be using our body language. We need to be, affirming with our voice in sometimes that you're listening or getting some clarity. Maybe you're going to ask some questions along the way. So we need to be listening actively to understand, not with an intent on replying. Now, listening is a skill and it requires discipline to remain active, because how many times have we been listening to someone and suddenly we found ourselves drifting away to what we did on the weekend or our holidays that are coming up down the beach? We need to be disciplined to remain active. So to listen also to things that aren't being said. So is the person trying to phrase things in a way not to offend people or not to be insulting of people, but actually saying something that's fundamentally in their eyes maybe wrong or incorrect or whatever. There's something going on. So we need to be listening. We need to remain active. We need to be listening to what's not being said. And we need to be aware of our own emotions and regulate them to get the best outcomes. Now, a really good classic example of that is when we are feeling slighted in whatever is being said, or someone makes something that suddenly you get that shiver going right through your body, which is a normal occurrence. And our immediate reaction is to, hey, what are you saying there? Or whatever the case may be. We need to control that, because by getting defensive, by jumping in on based around our emotions and our feelings, that instant thing that can sometimes do more harm than good, we need to understand that and we need to be aware of that. So it does require discipline to make sure that we're active in the listening process and that we're regulating our own emotions to make sure that we're getting the best outcome out of the conversation. Now, listening is a skill that maybe you've underestimated. Maybe you've never taken the time to fully develop the skill. But remember the words of Covey, seek first to understand, then be understood. So listen to understand and use that as the starting point of connecting with your team. So now is the time for you to take control of your leadership growth in this disruptive world that we're currently navigating. Our aim is to help you become the leader you deserve to be, you need to be today. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. Our website showcases the podcast, the magazine, and we're also now pleased to say that our masterminds, our transformative masterminds, are now available on the website. This is supported by our network sites, and Today's Leader is an absolute collective mindset for the leaders and entrepreneurs of today, forging the path for success for tomorrow. Now, the mindset to make a difference, the ability to create an impact. So Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Masterminds. Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional, and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. You'll see the link on the home page. The Coach Call Academy has over 75 programs to help you build a better you. Join us for just $1 for the first month. The Academy equips you and enhances mindset, leadership, and business skills. Check it out at thecoachcallacademy.com. Don't forget, I'm doing the 5 leadership skills during the month of January, diving in to help you be a better leader in 2021. But don't ever forget, where you're standing, you're stronger, you're braver, and absolutely wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. You know what that is. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you next week.